Alright, I'm back. I fell 2 days ago, so I've given my wrist 2 days to heal. The bruising and swelling is down, so now I can move my wrist. So I'm going to finish my sewing machine cover. So I've got this. So I've got all my sides. This is the inside. I've got it all sewn together. I have my two sides, or the two shorter sides are just a little longer. So I'm just going to put in one more stitch here and then cut the excess off. I left it long because I didn't know how much extra material it was going to be. So I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to quickly just run a line of stitch along there and trim off this extra almost an inch. And then I will flip it the right side. And what I've decided is I wanted to make a nice decorative trim, but I said I was trying to figure out how to do the binding stuff. I've never worked with that before, but I have my ribbon. So I got two nice colors of ribbon here. One's a nice bright yellow and one's like an off-white, off creamy white. I don't know if you can see. It's hard to see the colors on here sometimes, but I kind of did a quick measurement of my circumference of my bag and it was 49 inches. So I've cut these to just a little bit longer than 50 inches each. And then I'm going to pin them together and I'm going to stitch the two ribbons together like that. So I'll have a nice wider ribbon, and then I'm going to have it, so I'm going to stitch it onto the edge of the bag where I'm going to have the white on the inside and the yellow on the outside, because they're coordinating, go good with the colors I'm using. So first things first is just to fix these sides. So I will just move the ribbon out of my way. Just gonna get this all lined up again. Again, I'm not used to working with this much type of bulky material. I'm gonna try to do this, you can see what I'm doing without bumping the camera. Get this all lined up. You see where my end stitches were over here. I'm just going to stitch straight across. I'm going to do my, of course I do the back stitching at the both ends. Just about knocked my camera stand over. Try this again. I'm just going to trim this excess off, and I'm going to do the same to the other side. I'm just going to turn it around. I'm just going to do a quick stitch and cut this extra stuff off, and then I will be back when I get both of these end pieces finished. Alright, so my plan for the ribbon is I'm just trying to line these up. I hope if by having them on this purple cutting mat, it's easier to see the two ribbons. Don't quite have them quite even. They're just really long. I'm just trying to get it kind of just figure out how to pin it together. So I'm just trying to, so what I want to do is just pin them together, and then I just want to stitch them so that the one is barely over top of the other. Just like, I don't know how much that would be, but this white ribbon has a kind of a little seam on both sides. So my plan is just to take the yellow ribbon and just sew it right over top of that little edge. Just such a tiny amount, and then from there be able to stitch it on the outside of the whole case or the sewing cover. So that's what I'm trying to do. So I've got my ribbon started, so I've got it kind of pinned. I'm just loosely pinning. Let me find a different section here so I can just show you what I just did to pin it. Just put the pin through the yellow ribbon and then the pin through the white ribbon. And then just by getting them both on the pin, then I can just know exactly where I need to stitch. So when I get this finished pinning, I'll be back and ready to sew. Alright, so I got some pinning done and I wanted to just try it. So I did about 2 inches almost of it, and it's looks like it's gonna work. So I'm just gonna hold the 2 ribbons. Just trying to figure out where this can be so I can, you guys can see what I'm doing. So I'm holding the 2 ribbons side by side, and I'm just going very slowly. But it's like a 50-inch piece of 2 pieces of ribbon, so they just want to fall everywhere. So I'm just trying to keep them stitched together. Just going really slow on the machine. And I'm using a zigzag stitch. Just keep stitching until I get all 50 inches of the 2 ribbons stitched together. Not quite sure how long this is going to take. I'm just going to stop right there so you can see the 2 pieces of ribbon are stitched together pretty good. I had a little bit of a problem up here. The first little piece, it kind of got snagged under the foot at first, but that's okay. Once I got past that, the beginning part, it was really easy to keep it straight. So I'm just going to keep doing this, and I will be back when I've got them finished. And I'll let you know how long it took to do that. Right, I got the 2 ribbons now stitched together. It took me about 6 or 7 minutes to stitch this whole 50-inch or so of the 2 ribbons. So now I'm just going to grab my machine cover here. And I know this is the inside, the outside is the patchwork one. So the outside I want the white, or I mean on the inside I want the white, on the outside I want the yellow. So I'm just going to line this up so I get a nice finished edge on the outside and a nice finished edge on the inside, and then right where the seam of the 2 is should line up right along the bottom part. So I'm just going to line this up. I'm going to put a couple pins in here and line this up and just make sure it is the right size. Got my pins here. Okay, so I'm just going to line this up on the outside and the yellow on the inside. Just going to put a pin through there. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to pin so I get my seam right along the edge. It's kind of tricky to line this up. I just got so many layers of things here I'm trying to pin through. The other day when I was at Walmart, I did see those wonder clips, and I thought those would be a good thing to probably buy, but they were just, I don't know, I didn't think they were worth nearly $9 for, I think you get 22 or something in a pack, or 24, whatever it was. So I decided I'm going to just keep looking and seeing what else there would be. And I was at the Dollar Tree and I was looking at the little binder clips, and they're not that much of a better price either. But I can see that I've got this. Okay, I'm going to have to cut this side down a little more. So I did do the stitching, but I guess I didn't cut it off. So I'm going to have to cut off. I'm gonna have to trim this down a bit. So I'm just gonna trim this off and finish pinning this ribbon on, and then I will be back because I'm not quite sure how long this is gonna take me to get this all pinned in place. Right, Alright, so now I've got the ribbon all pinned on all 4 sides. Now I'm just going to get ready to get it back on the sewing machine and just stitch this all up. I did have to cut another almost 1/4 of an inch off of these smaller sides here. So I'm just going to find where my starting point was. Right here. Just got to get this all under the machine so I can lined up so I can just go straight across, and I should be able to sew right through all these layers of material and get both the pieces of the ribbon. That's what I'm hoping for. We'll see. Working. It's looking good. So I've got the one side about half done, so I'm just going to continue stitching without pricking myself with the pins. I'm just going to keep stitching. Just do this, finish this side, and then so I've got the one side done. It's looking good. So I'm just going to do the other 3 sides, and I'll be back when I've got it all completed. All right, I'm now coming up stitching the last couple inches on the final side here. So I can just, it's kind of hard to try to keep this all pulled together and under here and straight. Around right where I had started. Right now, oops. I will see if this worked. I'm just gonna snip off these extra threads here and turn it right side. To just get in there with something sharp to get the corners poked out a little bit more. Actually, it looks like a nice little bag the way it stands up. I'm just gonna flip it this way. You can see so I've got a nice finished edge. The yellow really goes good with the black, the white, and the green pattern. And the white on the inside goes good with the black and white check. I'm just going to slip it on my sewing machine because that's what I really want to see how it looks on my machine here. Just about dropped my machine off on the floor. This little desk is just really small. Okay. There we go. Oops, it's caught. There. Well, I still have, you know, the thread is in place, the cords are all still plugged in. There it is. My sewing machine cover that I've made from scratch. I've never done any type of quilting like this before, so I'm really proud that it looks really good. I like the way it's looking. Okay, just gonna move that out of the way for a second. And what I do have is I've got a few of these squares left over from the pattern. I've got one black, two white, and a green. So I'm going to cut these into 4 triangles, and I was going to turn it into a little pin cushion. I'm just going to grab my cutting mat here. I've got a brand new rotary cutter. The ones I had weren't working very good. Okay. Don't know why it's not there. I guess I said to loosen that the first time. I'm just going to put these here on my little cutting mat, and I'm just going to cut them into the triangles. So I'm just going to cut these into these triangles, and I'm going to say this. I don't like that. This material is just so thin. I'm just going to fold it and just cut it with my scissors. It's going to be just as fast, if not faster. This is what I'm used to cutting. I just thought it'd be nice to have a coordinating pin cushion. Like that, and I'm going to cut these all again, the other diagonal, so I get like, so out of each one I'm going to get 4 squares, so I'm going to have a total of, or triangles I mean, so I'm going to have a total of 12, 16, let me count. I'm going to have 16 little mini triangles, and I will be just trying to figure out how to put them together to make a nice little mini pin cushion. I'm just going to cut these, and I'll be back when I get these all cut. Alright, so I've got them all cut and laid out, so I'm just going to put them together, right sides together. I've got a white with a green, and then I'll do a white and a black, white and a green, another white with a black, and that'll be the top, and then the same for the bottom. Just gonna line these up, so I'm kind of like taking the triangles and I'm going to turn them into squares. So just a second here. Sorry, something just popped up on my camera. I was trying to figure out some timer. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to move these just aside so I can bring my sewing machine back in place. So all I'm going to do is just line up the right sides together so I get a nice little triangle thing here, and I'm just going to stitch. Now I don't want the zigzag, I just want a straight, so I just gotta Just had to turn my little thing off the zigzag. I got loose thread and bits of material caught on my sock. Just makes it hard to use the little thing here. Okay. What am I doing? Okay, I've got something wrong. What did I do? I've got the wrong stitching. Oops. Oops. Yeah, I've had the wrong stitching. That's not what I wanted. Take this out. I didn't press down far enough. I had it on 0-2. I wanted it on 0-0. Okay. It's because one was on a 4 and one was on a 6, so I just put them both down 4. No, it's the wrong stitching. So I'm just gonna really just undo these couple stitches. At least I caught it before I did, too many stitching. Okay, redo this, redo it, make sure I've actually got my stitching on the right ones that I want. I'll line this up. Okay, it just got pulled under my machine. I am not a sewer, but I'm trying to learn. I'll try that again. Nope, it doesn't want to. No, it just does not want to stitch. It just wants to pull it underneath and not move. I'm just going to set that piece aside. I'm just going to try another piece. I'm just going to keep stitching all my little square pieces here, or my little diamonds together, or my triangles together, so when I open them up I get I'll have little diamonds. So I will be back when I get all these stitched. I don't see what I was doing, so I'm just trying to figure out where my camera is. And it is not stitching for some reason. Okay. Well, I will be back when I figure out what I did wrong and I get all these stitched together. Alright, I'm not sure what happened, but I just rethreaded my machine and I double checked and the bobbin still has thread. So now I'm just going to open up my little squares here that I've made. I have to cut some of that extra fabric off too. And I'm just going to open these up and I'm just going to put 2 on the top, 2 of these ones on the bottom, and 2 of these on the bottom, and 2 of these on the top, so there's going to be 4. So I'm just going to make my little pattern here. This. I'm just going to have to trim that off, but now I'm just going to sew little squares, do it this way so I kind of get this patchwork little thing. So I'm going to get a few on the top and a few on the bottom. I'm just going to make a very simple square pin cushion for tonight. I'm going to get that pattern. So that's all I'm going to do is I'm just going to get my iron out so I can press these a little bit and just trim some of this excess material off the back. And I'm just going to then be just stitching, I guess if I got the black, so I'll be stitching the green. Well, I'm just going to figure out, yeah, right here. So I'm just going to be lining these up like that. And I'm just going to be stitching the one side. So when I open it up, I'll get a couple rows like this. So I'll be back when I've got my iron ready to press and I've got all this extra material in the backs trimmed. Okay, I'm back. I've got my squares now, so I've got 8 squares, and I've got the extra piece of material cut off, and I've got used the iron to just press down the seams a bit. So now I'm gonna just basically make like I had done for these quilt patterns. So I'm just gonna take got them laid out for where my top row is and my bottom row, so I guess it'd be the top and the bottom of my pin cushion, and I'm just going to lay these pieces over like that, and I'm just going to stitch the one side. So when I get this stitched up, I will open up and I'll be like that. So I'm just going to laying these all out. And now I'm just gonna start to stitch. I just want to make sure I'm getting my pattern right, because I know how I want this pattern to kind of line up with the pattern I'm using on, or that I had used on my cover. It's kind of want the same pattern for the pin cushion. I'm just gonna put this in here, and I'm just gonna stitch right straight across. I'm just gonna get these. Where is my camera? There it is. I got my square here, and I'm just going to stitch here. So I'm getting the squares, 2 of the squares sewn together. That's what I'm trying to say. So when I open it up, I will now have that pattern. So I'm just going to do that for the rest of these. I'm just going to I just kind of turned this wrong way. There, I just turned it the wrong way. You know how I'm trying to keep my pattern. Because I really want to get this really nice quilting pattern here. So I'm just I had them lined up, but I had them going the wrong way, because what I'm doing is for the seam on this side it's going up and down, and the seam on the other side is going horizontally. So I got a vertical and a horizontal seam, so then when I open it up, the seams will all be going the same direction. That makes sense. I hope it does. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to stitch all of my pieces together. So when I open it up, they're all going the same way, and the seams are all now going the same way. I'm just going to do my last 2 pieces here. right, so now I've got all my pieces stitched together. I know I had a pattern here. There's my pattern. I knew I had it, I just flipped two of them around. Okay, so I've got my pattern, so it's going to be my top and my bottom. So now I'm just going to take these ones on this side and just lay it on here and just stitch these ones across. I'm not so worried about, I know the squares were all just kind of an odd shaped squares, and so then I got odd shaped diamonds, or triangles I mean. Just got pulled under the, I'm just going to redo this whole row. So I've got that, and I've got one more to do. Just trying to line up the seams a bit. So now I've got two squares now. So now I'm going to line my squares up on top of each other, and I'm just going to make sure all my seams are lined up. And I'm just going to now just get these two squares laid down. I'm just trying to make sure I get these right. So I didn't want the white next to the white. I did something here. It's okay. I will figure what I did. I think I... There, that's what I wanted. I said I knew I had the pattern right. I just got them flipped around. I was just putting the pieces together. So now for this time, I'm just going to stitch down all four sides, but I got to leave about a 2-inch space here. So I saw somebody do this when they were making these. Where you kind of want your space, they stitched in a little bit. I'm going to try that. I'm just going to turn. Oops. There. Now I'm going to stitch here, there, the other side, and I'm going to leave that 2-inch space so I can turn it right side and stuff it. I'm just going to move this out of my way so I can just move this just a little closer so I can reach a little bit easier. When I come to the corner, I'm just going to lift the foot up and rotate the material. So I've got some extra material. I know I should have been cutting this extra stuff off while doing this, but I just want to get this done. And it's just a little pin cushion, so it's just it doesn't really matter. And then lift this up and spin the material around. Spin this around. Now I've got to find, is this the side with my opening? No, I gotta do this whole side. The next side will be my opening side. I'll just stitch down a little ways, and then I'm going to lift this up and I'm going to bring it out because I saw somebody do this a few different times. So I'm just going to try it to see how it works. Okay, I'm just going to trim off the excess material here. I'm keeping far away from my stitches because I don't want to cut my stitches. And that is my opening right here. So now I am going to flip it right side. Just gonna grab my little pencil or chopstick or something just so I can get in there and get all the stitching, all the corners poked out. I'll be right back when I'll grab the stuffing, so it'll be time to stuff this. All right, so got this all turned right side. I'm just ready to stuff it. I'm just using a little chopstick here just to get the thing, and I found a couple spots, so I'm gonna have to go back, flip it back this way because I got a couple spots where I guess I missed some of the corner pieces, so I've got to go and fix a few spots, or maybe I may have even clipped them by accident. I'm not quite sure, so I just gotta find these two places where the chopstick poked through, right there, and there's another corner where the chopstick had also poked through. Okay, I found the two corners. I gotta fix those two corners just so I don't lose stuffing out of my little thing here. Here, I see this side here, just and that other corner, which I actually clipped it. I know when I was just trimming something, I know I hit the corner. That side, the material was just two different sizes and I didn't notice that one spot. But I know one of these corners when I was trimming off some extra material. I cut the corner. Okay, no, right there. That's the one. Okay, just fix it now quickly. Those two spots fast. Now I'll bring it right side out. My little mini chopstick here. Make sure all the corners are out and good. Now I'm just going to grab my pillow stuffing that I've got here. This is from just an old little cushion we had. It wasn't being used for anything, so I decided I'm taking the stuffing out of it to make other things. When I stuff, I always roll this. It's hard to see on here, but when I stuff my pillows, I always roll the stuffing into the corners. So I'm just going to keep working on this, and I'll be back. Okay, so you can see I've got it all stuffed good. Now I'm going to stitch this up. I'm going to try my best to do that invisible stitch again. I'm just trying to it's lined up. It's always tricky doing my first couple of stitches. But once I get the first couple stitches in, then it just becomes so much easier to get going. I think it's just trying to start. Once I get this started, then I can kind of explain how I'm doing it. So I've got where my seam is, so when I pull, it tightens the seam. So I'm just taking the thread and I'm just putting it through the inside part of that seam, kind of like a hem kind of a line. And then you pull it and it should tuck it all inside if it's done correctly. Just do the same on the next side. Just have to pull it. It should go more or less invisible. This was a stitch I kind of forgot how to do it, and then when I remembered, I was like, oh, I don't know why I forgot how to do it, but I just don't do enough sewing. Most of the stitching I do would be just like I do hemming my kids' clothes, like temporary hemming. So when I always bought them clothes a little bit bigger, so I could just kind of hem, and then I can take out the hem as they grow. It's just not really working because I can see some of the stitching coming through, but that's okay. I also do like just the blanket stitching, like fixing, you know, the kids' blankets if they go through the washer or the dryer and they kind of get tangled. Clip a little extra piece of string off there. And like I said, I'm not worried. I can always just come back at a later time and fix this stitching. Now, I'm not good at, you know, ending knots. I've seen people do things what I do is I just cut the thread near the part of that needle up there, and then I get the two tails and I just kind of tie a couple little single knots. I just gotta move this down here so I can see what I'm doing. Just gonna tie a couple little like shoelace knots. I don't know what they're called, but just the little simple basic knots, and then just trim off the extra thread. I'm just gonna give that a little roll between the fingers. So I get this. Yes, this is the little edge. It's not the best, but that's my quick little pin cushion. And then I decided I want to make it a little bit fancier. So I've got a couple of these buttons, which I think will just kind of hides that the seams don't line up perfectly in the center, so I can kind of use the buttons to hide that. So I found these really bright neon yellowish green buttons, and I found this bright yellow emery floss. So I'm just going to get a good chunk of this emery floss. I've got two darning needles, but this one, no, that will not go through this one well. But I don't need all these layers of the thread. Try to use half the thread, and I don't know, just re-knotted on it, tangled on itself. Okay, maybe I will just use the whole thing. Just trying to do it. Look at that, half went through the needle there. So now I can pull it in half there. And of course I got it knotted there. That's what I wanted. I just wanted half that thread. I'm just going to tie a little knot in this end here. Trim off the extra little bit of thread, and I'm just going to find where the center is going to be. Just go straight up and put it through the button and back down, trying to get it in the same spot. Oh, don't do that. Do not poke yourself with the needle. These darning needles are very, very sharp. My darning needles are extra sharp because I don't use them. I just think they look really cool to have these extra large needles just sitting in my sewing box. I have some other really fancy looking needles that I will never use. I bought a pack of upholstery needles one time from the dollar store just because I liked the way that they were all curved, and I thought, oh, that would look so cool just sitting in my sewing kit. Not like I'm ever going to do any upholstering where I'm going to need those U-shaped needles. I just think they look really cool just sitting there. Pull it through a couple more times. Button on both sides. I'm just going to go through once more. This time I'm just going to go through this one buttonhole here if I can. I hope I can. be able to go through this one. This time I don't want to go through to the bottom. I just want to go through under here. Just gonna hit this a few times, and then the same thing. I'm just gonna snip this off here. I'm just gonna grab these loose threads here, and I'm just going to tie and wrap, try to tie them into a knot. No, I don't think I'm going to be able to. I just do. Just lost the one side. Okay, I'm just going to tuck them underneath because that is. I'm just going to tuck them underneath for now. I might just put in a dab of hot glue under there just to help hold it in place. But there is my little cute little pin cushion. I'm just going to stick these needles in here that I've got sitting here. Not the darning needle. I might just stick it in the buttonhole for now. I'm just going to move this stuff and move my camera so you can see the sewing machine cover and the little pin cushion. Alright, so there is my sewing machine cover and the coordinating little pin cushion. I just really hope everybody's enjoying this tutorial. I'm just learning how to sew. This is my first time of actually making any quilting, actual quilting on a quilting machine. I've learned a lot doing this, and I found it really fun, and I can't wait till I start sewing another project. I've got a few ideas of what I'd like to make next. So again, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's been watching and subscribing, and I will see you all in my next videos. Bye.